Alright, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Compound Interesting. This is Emil, and in today's video we're having a look at NVIDIA stock. So for today's video I'll run through exactly what NVIDIA does and all the potential growth segments of NVIDIA, which there are numerous. So the interesting thing about NVIDIA is that they have their finger in pretty much every extreme growth industry that there is at the moment. So we'll run through each of them. So their core industry is still gaming. NVIDIA invented the GPU, the graphics processing unit, in 1998 or something. So the core industry is still gaming, but now they're really expanding into the data market. So their GPUs are now used in data centers and cloud centers, and that's the extreme growth industry at the moment. Another extreme growth industry that NVIDIA is a part of is the artificial intelligence industry, which is set to start really ramping up very soon, and that includes autonomous vehicles as well. And there's a number of more industries that they're getting involved in, like cryptocurrencies they've already been kind of involved with. So I'm going to run through each of these industries and what specifically NVIDIA offers for each of these industries and how much growth there is likely to be for NVIDIA for each of these industries. And then we'll run through the numbers of NVIDIA and of course the balance sheet, and finally my overall thoughts and what I'm doing in regards to NVIDIA. So with all that said, I really hope you enjoyed the video and let's get going. Okay, so I think it's a good idea to start with NVIDIA's bread and butter, which is their gaming industry, and what potential growth factors there are for NVIDIA and what they're releasing to the market. So NVIDIA recently released a keynote with all their new technology that they're bringing to the market, and within this technology where ray tracing and AI upscaling. So we're going to run through that. The concept of ray tracing has been around for a long time, but it's only now that ray tracing has really become possible thanks to NVIDIA's upgrades in chips. And you can see the difference that ray tracing makes to how realistic a game is. It's really like the next step in graphics, because I remember going from PlayStation 2 graphics to PlayStation 3 graphics, and it was just like, ever since that kind of jumped, it's kind of plateaued. But I feel like this is the next jump up in graphics. So NVIDIA is set to really benefit from this in their GPU sales. Now, when I get into the numbers a little bit later on, we'll see that the revenue for gaming has decreased. However, that's not actually the case, as a lot of that revenue from gaming was actually for crypto mining, mining cryptocurrencies. So people use NVIDIA's GPUs to mine cryptocurrencies. So when the cryptocurrency crash happened, a lot of those GPUs got sold on eBay for next to nothing, and there was obviously very little demand for chips for crypto mining. And as a lot of those GPUs became unprofitable to mine cryptocurrencies on, people sold them on eBay. So anyone who wanted a GPU could buy them cheaply on eBay rather than buying new ones on NVIDIA. Another really exciting feature for gaming industry, and not even just gaming, also any sort of visualization like movies or anything like that, is AI upscaling. So basically taking a 480p picture and upscaling it to 4K or a much higher quality, and using artificial intelligence to determine what color those new pixels should be.
Deep learning super sampling. And here what I'm showing you is our first try, and we call it DLSS 1.0. Notice it improves the resolution, it appears, but only by a little bit. This is, ladies and gentlemen, DLSS 2.0, scaling from 720p, generating the pixels necessary to create a 1080p anti-aliased image. It's much, much more than sharpening. Look at all the lights that all of a sudden appear that didn't appear before. How do you create content where content did not exist? Well, partly because the neural network has learned what the image should look like, and secondarily, because we have motion vectors.
So you can see the difference between the 480p and the new rendering in this video. So the growth beast for NVIDIA right now is their growth in cloud storage and data centers. So NVIDIA have recently released this Ampere A100 that is just extremely powerful. I'll let the CEO tell you about it himself.
This is the A100 processor board. It is 50 pounds, 8 GPUs connected by NVLink, 600 gigabytes per second, 6 NV switches, 1 million drill holes, 1 kilometer of traces connecting all of this, over 30,000 components, 50 pounds. In DGX, it moves 700 cubic feet per minute. The most transistors on one computer the world has ever made. Ampere is not only incredibly fast for training, not only is it incredibly fast for inference, it also has the ability to fractionalize and partition itself up into a large GPU for scale-up applications or a whole bunch of small GPUs to maximize scale-out. Incredible performance, incredible value. Here we're showing you a modern, typical AI data center. There's a lot of DGXs inside with Voltas running in parallel for training. And so this particular data center has 50 DGX1s and 600 CPU systems for AI inference and data processing. $11 million, 630 kilowatts is approximately the going price for a state-of-the-art AI data center. With the A100, this is what it looks like. Boom. The combination of the high throughput, the MIG instances, and the ability to do data processing, deep learning, and inference all on one computing platform, and the acceleration software we've developed from Spark to training all the way to inference, we can now combine all of those different server architectures into one. And by doing so, we reduced an $11 million data center into a $1 million rack, 28 kilowatts instead of 630 kilowatts, a tenth of the cost and 1/20th of the power. The more you buy, the more you save.
So cloud storage and data centers, this is a really, really fast growing industry. And to add to it, the coronavirus has kind of added to the acceleration of this transition because of working remotely and work with people and communicate with people who aren't in your actual presence. The estimate for the growth is from $21 billion a year for GPUs and data centers to $100 billion per year by 2024. So that's a 4x. And NVIDIA are going to take a lot of this market share. So that's a huge, huge revenue source for NVIDIA, especially if we take into account that NVIDIA's total revenue is like $11 billion a year. It really can show that they can really expand their revenue because of the data center business. This will be the major growth catalyst for NVIDIA in the short to medium term over the next few years. To add to this, they've acquired Mellanox, which is a company which specializes in this industry. So now NVIDIA is just one company and Mellanox are just one company. So this was a great acquisition. They're not acquisition crazy. They only make calculated, really good acquisitions. So that was a good acquisition. And it's not just an acquisition because for the sake of spending their excess money. No, this was a calculated acquisition that will further increase both Mellanox and NVIDIA's output. So NVIDIA, imagine a future where if you're a business and you have something that requires a lot of computing power, you have a task that you need to complete, potentially an artificial intelligence task. You won't use your actual CPU on your computer. It will be sent to a data center, and that data center's GPUs will complete the task for you and send you back the results at a much faster and more efficient rate. To add to this, they also envision a future where there's smart cities and smart everything. So everything will talk to each other. Streetlights will talk to cars, etc., etc. And there won't be a computer in every streetlight. It will just send the information to data centers nearby, and the data center will tell the streetlight what to do. And this is a major growth catalyst for NVIDIA, and this is a good segue into the next revenue stream, which is more of a long-term revenue source, but it has absolutely enormous potential. And not even potential, like it's almost certain that it will grow to an enormous amount in the future, and that is artificial intelligence. Okay, so I want to share with you another really nice, really cool clip from NVIDIA about AI and all the different revenue segments. Well, not revenue segments, but all the different segments that AI can help flourish.
I am an explorer. Searching for the origins of our universe. charting a safer path to other worlds. I am a helper, moving us forward one step at a time, and giving voice to every emotion.
I love you.
I am a healer, modeling the future of medicine. And finding a needle in a haystack when every second counts. I am a visionary, uncovering masterpieces lost to the ages. And finding new adventures in a galaxy far, far away. I am a builder, driving perfection in everything we create. I am even the narrator of the story you are watching. And the composer of the music. And when the world faces its greatest challenge, I give us the power to take it on together. I am AI.
Okay, so now you have an idea of what AI, of the potential of AI, and that's just the beginning. Like, there's going to be so many things that we can't even imagine that AI will help with us in the future. So everyone knows the AI industry will be enormous in a couple of decades, 10, 20 years, and even sooner as well. But I'm thinking in the very long term, it's going to be so enormous because of how beneficial it will be to the human race. But the nice thing about NVIDIA is that they're not coming up with the ideas so much for what the AI is going to do. They're just creating the AI and the chips required for the AI. So it's kind of similar to the gold rush, where everyone was trying to dig for gold, and NVIDIA is the one selling them the shovels. So NVIDIA will make the most money from selling the chips, as everyone tries to find gold, as in the AI things that are actually useful. It's less risky because there will be a lot of people who find gold, as in useful AI, but there will also be a lot of failures. However, NVIDIA will succeed no matter what when AI starts to take off, as long as there's not some other competitor who eats NVIDIA's lunch. So NVIDIA also released this AI chatbot feature where the AI can have a conversation with you and mimic a human's features as they are talking. So it feels like you're actually talking to a human, and it looks like they're talking, and it does it all in real time, so you can have an actual conversation with the artificial intelligence.
What could be a bigger legacy to making it a story? Every day gets better, no doubt. So we gotta hold out.
Without just hearing a voice, actually seeing facial expressions, doing that all in real time. So that could be the future of chatbots and customer service online.
Once we have audio to face, then we can connect it to our conversational AI model, where you can ask it a question, it would understand the question, answer the question, and then synthesize speech from that, which goes into our audio to face model, which animates and drives a 3D model. We've created a demonstration we call Misty, our first interactive 3D chatbot. Hello.
Hi, I'm Misty.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking.
What are you here for?
I'm here to give you the latest weather information around the world, tell you interesting facts about meteorology, and keep you company.
Should I bring an umbrella tomorrow?
It is not expected to rain in Santa Clara, California tomorrow afternoon.
Tell me something about lightning.
We see lightning first, because light travels faster than sound.
How come you know so much about weather?
I know the weather information from the internet. I have lived for a long time and have been talking about the weather for as long as I know.
Where are you from, Misty?
I'm from a place called Omniverse.
Who made you?
I am created by the wonderful scientists of NVIDIA.
What powers you?
I'm powered by NVIDIA GPU and the CUDA neurons inside of them.
Thank you, Misty.
Thank you, it was a pleasure talking to you.
And one of the final pieces of the puzzle for artificial intelligence and its uses is in autonomous vehicles. Now we know Tesla is leading the front in this, and Tesla used to use NVIDIA's chips for their autonomous vehicles and for their AI to drive the cars. However, the NVIDIA chips weren't perfect for Tesla, so Tesla decided to make their own chips which are superior for autonomous driving. So that might seem like a bad thing that NVIDIA's chips wasn't ideal for Tesla, and that any car manufacturer in the future that's using autonomous driving or AI to drive cars, they'll just make their own chips to do that. However, it's known that Tesla really likes to do everything in-house, so I don't see any other car manufacturer doing this, creating their own chips for autonomous driving. I think Tesla will be the only one who has their own chips. And I think the only competitor for creating autonomous driving chips for cars, apart from AMD, would be Tesla selling it to their competitors, which who knows if that will happen. So I think NVIDIA still has a huge revenue source in 10 years when autonomous driving becomes the norm. BMW, Toyota, Volkswagen, all those huge car manufacturers start using NVIDIA chips in their cars. Just the last point on the autonomous driving, like in 10-20 years, everything that moves will be autonomous. So robots, trucks, potentially planes, helicopters, who knows how far these computers on wheels or computers on wings will take us. But it's likely that everything will be autonomous in the future, and NVIDIA is one of the leaders in this front. So I mentioned a minute ago about GPUs being used for crypto mining and the big crash that caused in the price, in the value of GPUs when the cryptocurrency market crashed in 2017. Basically, before the 2017 crash, GPUs, like secondhand GPUs, were going for crazy amounts, and NVIDIA couldn't sell it, couldn't make enough of them for the demand. So they got so expensive. So that's why NVIDIA's revenues got so elevated in 2018. However, I believe there will be a next cryptocurrency run where cryptocurrencies start to take off and mining becomes very popular again, and there will be even more coins and even more mining requirements, as the coins that were there previously now need a higher hash rate or need a higher mining power to mine the Bitcoins, to mine those coins. Just remember, GPUs can't be used for Bitcoin. They're not powerful enough, and they can't be used for Litecoin and a few other coins. But a lot of the smaller cap coins, GPUs are still perfect for mining. So once that takes off again, all those smaller cap coins, when they're getting mined, when they start to be profitable to mine again using GPUs, NVIDIA will see a big surge in stock price. So that's kind of a, not even stock price, also revenue. So that's kind of a waiting dormant beast that can really send NVIDIA's revenue up quite drastically, quite quickly. And no one's really talking about that at the moment. Now I'm just going to go through some points about NVIDIA that aren't industry specific. I'll give you my thoughts on the numbers and the balance sheet about NVIDIA and my final thoughts on NVIDIA. If you've liked the video so far, I'd hugely appreciate it if you could drop me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe below and click the notification bell for further technology investment ideas. So just a couple of things that you should know about NVIDIA. They have a really diverse customer base. So with some companies, they're heavily dependent on one customer, which is always kind of risky. It does add risk. However, like say the company that they're heavily dependent on does very well, that would mean that the company you're investing in will do well. For example, Cirrus Logic, their biggest customer is Apple. So if Apple does poorly, Cirrus Logic will do poorly, and vice versa. However, NVIDIA, their largest customer makes up only 11% of their total revenue, and they're really spread out across thousands of different customers and customer bases and industries. So in that sense, they're quite low risk. And because NVIDIA are so diversified over so many different industries, that if one of those industries doesn't turn out to be such a groundbreaking industry as it seems, like if the revolution in gaming and virtual reality and augmented reality, that doesn't turn out to be such a success as people think at the moment, like I think AI, autonomous driving, autonomous robotics, cloud storage data centers, and artificial intelligence, I think all those industries are set to explode in the next decade. However, if one of them doesn't turn out to be such a hype beast that it is at the moment, if it turns out to be a bit of a dud in the end, NVIDIA won't be completely crushed by that. One of my favorite things about NVIDIA is their commitment to spending money in research and development. And they've spent $20 billion since their inception in research and development. And they're continuing to increase the amount that they're spending each year in research and development. So a lot of kind of value investors will want the capital expenditure or the expenditure of the company to be decreasing. However, with an innovative company like this, you need to see research and development increasing every year, because otherwise someone else is going to eat their lunch. So you have to stay ahead of the curve. So it's one of the good things, but it's also one of the risks with NVIDIA, that a competitor comes and eats their lunch. So I mentioned that NVIDIA they're playing robotics, and anything that moves in the future will be autonomous. So there'll be autonomous factories where there's no workers at all, and it's all powered by AI robots building each machine. Or say the BMW have already partnered with NVIDIA to create an autonomous factory, somewhat similar to a Tesla factory, where the factory kind of builds the car to the specifications put in, and the robots carry out the specifications of the artificial intelligence. And this industry is somewhat cyclical in the fact that Q4 will always do a little bit better than Q1 because more games are sold in the fourth quarter, obviously because of Christmas. Now let's just run through the numbers. So NVIDIA have 16 billion in cash, and 7 billion, they usually don't have very much debt at all, but now they have 7 billion in debt on the balance sheet. So that 7 billion is recently taken out to acquire Mellanox, but the cash hasn't cleared yet. So that's why they have 16 billion in cash and 7 billion in debt. And then later, the 7 billion, they're spending 7 billion to acquire the Mellanox company that I told you about. So that 16 billion will become 9 billion. And then the 7 billion that they spend on Mellanox will be added to the goodwill. So they'll have the same amount in total assets and the same amount in total liabilities. So you might think, oh my God, NVIDIA is such a buy. Everything I've talked about, it just seems like such an obvious choice. Like every industry that they're in is about to explode. So why wouldn't you buy NVIDIA? Well, unfortunately, you're not the only one who thinks that way. Their price to sales ratio is historically high. So at the moment, it's almost 20. Their price to sales ratio is almost 20. And their historical average is about 5, 6. But in more recent times, it's been about 10. So they're a really, really expensive stock in both the price to sales ratio and a price to earnings ratio. Their price to earnings ratio is at 80 at the moment. So they are a company that does make money. So that's great to see. However, their price to earnings ratio is sky high. However, their forward PE is a little bit more reasonable. So you can just see the growth in their revenue segments. Their gaming revenue used to be a little bit higher, but as I mentioned, that's from the cryptocurrency kind of thing. But you can really see the growth in the data center industry. And I think the other industries like the auto industry, they're set to explode in the next 5-10 years. And I also think the gaming industry, this revenue segment will increase as well significantly with the release of the PlayStation 5, Xbox, virtual reality, augmented reality, ray tracing, AI upscaling, everything that I mentioned at the start of the video. So finally, what am I doing in regards to NVIDIA stock? Well, I already own a position in NVIDIA. I bought some NVIDIA after it crashed when the cryptocurrency crash happened, and NVIDIA's stock price fell quite dramatically with that, in line with that. I decided to pick up some shares at that time because I saw that was a good buying opportunity, and I knew the cryptocurrency mining would come back at some stage. However, I didn't see all the AI and other features about NVIDIA that will make NVIDIA so much more valuable than it was at that time. I didn't see that at that time. So now I'm reevaluating this company with all this new information. And for me, it's enough to make another small investment into NVIDIA, but it's going to remain quite a small addition to my position of NVIDIA, my current position. So I'm not going to add a boatload. And the reason is because of the extraordinarily high price to earnings and price to sales ratio. The price of it is a little bit exuberant at the moment. And I think it's more than likely it will come back down to slightly more reasonable levels, at which point I'll start adding more and more shares the further it goes down. However, I don't want to be in this situation where it doesn't fall and I'm wrong and it just continues to climb or stays at the price that it is now. So for those reasons, I'm making an initial position now. Now, this is not financial advice. This is just what I'm doing. So you have to make your own decisions and evaluate this company yourself. And if you want to make a position into this company, I'd highly recommend you watch the keynote that they released a couple of weeks ago, and you dig into their investor relations page, etc., to understand this company, because it's a very technical and difficult company to understand all the industries that they're going after. So just to keep that in mind, this is just what I'm doing. So hopefully NVIDIA, the stock price comes down a bit to a more reasonable level, a more fairly valued level. And at that stage, I'd be very interested in making this quite a potentially large position of my portfolio. But if not, maybe just a medium to small position. If you liked the video, I'd hugely appreciate if you could drop a thumbs up. If you're interested in investing, like I said, please make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. If you have any ideas for videos in the future, make sure to comment below, or you can join our Discord group linked in the description. Really hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. It's a pretty cool company, pretty cool topic to say the least. Yeah, I really find these future industries like artificial intelligence fascinating, and NVIDIA really opened the eyes to the possibilities of these industries for the future. So with all that said, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much, and cheers.